Hello, everybody. A Labour government in the UK has taken out an injunction which is brazenly anti-Christian in what it seeks to do. Rushmoor Council in Hampshire, which covers the two towns of Farborough and Aldershot, has sought to ban Christian street preachers from praying or speaking to anybody in the town centres of Farnborough and Aldershot. This is something that Christians have been doing in the UK, and I imagine around the world, for nearly 2,000 years, since the time of Jesus himself. And it has always been a right, under the assumption of freedom of speech, for Christians to be able to share the Christian gospel message, to tell other people the good news of Jesus, who came to the earth to die in our place for our sins, so that our relationship with God can be restored. Now, whether you believe that or not, I do, because I'm a Christian, there should be no restrictions on people telling that to other people wherever they are. But this council, Rushmoor Council, a Labour-controlled council, not that the Lib Dems or the Greens or the fake Conservatives will be any better, because they're all one uniparty, really. But in this case, it's a Labour council, has taken out an injunction. It's been seeking to impose an injunction to stop Christians from being able to talk or even pray freely in the town centres in the two towns in Rushmoor district. Now, the Christian Legal Centre, who would do a fantastic job, they're connected to Christian Concern, who also do a great job, have actually been challenging this, and I don't think it's come into effect yet because of the legal challenge that they're making. But the thing is that this is actually quite tyrannical in what it seeks to do. Now, some of the wordings of the injunction are here. So these are the things that Rushmoor Council wants to ban. Praying, whether with outstretched arms or otherwise, for anyone visiting, working, or living within the town centres of Aldershot and Farnborough, as shown on the map that goes with this. Offering up or personally handing to anyone visiting, working, or living within the town centres of Aldershot or Farnborough any leaflet, letter, or poster or other written material. So, you can go to any town centre and there'll be dozens of people giving you flyers for all kinds of things, whether it's, Christian street preachers, but more often than not, people trying to get you to go and, buy a pizza or buy some clothes or go to this shop or that shop. But they're just targeting one group of people here, Christians, to say that they're not allowed to hand anyone any leaflets. And those leaflets, of course, would be about Jesus. They would be about God. They would be about the Christian message. So this is blatantly targeting anyone sharing the Christian message in Aldershot and Farnborough. The next thing, touching anyone visiting, working, or living within the town centres of Aldershot and Farnborough. For the avoidance of doubt, this includes the laying of hands on anyone in prayer. So obviously this is targeting people who pray for others. And sometimes if people are praying for each other, they might, someone might put a hand on your shoulder or whatever, and then pray. And they're saying, well, that's now not illegal, but they're taking an injunction out to say that anyone who wants to do this is not allowed to actually pray and physically touch someone if they're praying for them, but they're not allowed to pray anyway. But they also want to make it doubly tyrannical by saying you're not allowed to physically make contact with anyone if you're praying with them. Then it's another thing, approaching anyone who is not themselves street preaching for the purpose of engaging them with discussion about religion or beliefs. So everyone's got the freedom of speech to talk to anybody about whatever they want to talk to them about. But they're saying here that Christians are not allowed to go and try to start a conversation with someone if they want to talk about the Christian message or Jesus or God or sin or anything. And then the final thing, engaging in street preaching, which is hostile towards anyone with the protected characteristic of age, disability, gender reassignment, pregnancy, race, religion or belief, sex orientation. So clearly this is using the language which is in the Equality Act to suggest that sometimes what Christians might say to people is homophobic or transphobic or Islamophobic, and anyone can make a complaint about these things and then get them arrested or something. Now, the thing is with this, speaking and telling people the Christian message is completely allowed under the law. Although there are some laws coming in and have been over the last 10 years or so, both under Labour and the fake Conservatives, which try to restrict freedom of speech. But we have freedom of speech under common law. But this injunction, which applies to just specific areas, would mean that anyone breaking the injunction would get up to 2 years in prison. Think about that for a minute. A Labour council has put an injunction on these areas, or wants to put an injunction on these areas. Of course, as I said, the Christian Legal Centre is fighting this. But they want to put an injunction on these two areas in these town centres, which means that any Christian who is sharing the Christian message could go to prison for 2 years in a Christian country. This is utterly repugnant. And clearly, there are activists within Rushmoor Council. The police are happily enforcing this, and there have been cases where over the last 2 years, Christians in these town centres have been telling people the Christian message, and police have come and shut them down and harassed them and told them to move on and taken their microphones and taken their stuff. And this is obviously, you've got activist police constables who are doing this as well. And of course, you've got the activist councillors who are acting in a way which is repugnant to free speech. And Christians have always had the freedom to preach the Christian message in a Christian country for at least 1,500 years, and probably more. And now certain people are trying to shut down the Christian message and overturn freedom of speech. But look at the contrast to how Labour politicians and uniparty politicians of all colours act towards Christians compared to how they act towards Muslims. Muslims are allowed to pretty much go anywhere they want and collect en masse, even on the roads in parts of London on a Friday, and block the traffic and kneel down and pray towards Mecca. I've got nothing against them doing that if they want to do that indoors, but they shouldn't be blocking the public highway. But when they do, the police invariably do absolutely nothing to stop that. And also compare the attitude to a few Christian preachers telling people the Christian message there in Rushmoor, and how certain councils act towards gay pride or LGBTQIAPP alphabet soup pride. There are people on these pride parades every year on whatever it is, LG Alphabet Diversity Month and Alphabet History Month, whatever. These things go on almost all year continuously now. But there are people on these things that are doing things which are grossly indecent, which if they did them in any other context, they would be arrested for indecent behavior, especially in front of children. People dressing in ways which, show things which shouldn't be shown. And they get a free pass. The councils just allow it. And in fact, they don't just allow it, they celebrate it and almost require you to affirm that this is a good thing, when of course it's not. And the police, they join in, and they dress up and prance around in rainbows for these alphabet days. And the very same people then go and harass Christians and try to shut down the free speech of Christians when they actually affirm and celebrate the free speech of people who are actually doing things which are degenerate and are against the law. Indecent exposure, for example. So we have blatant two-tier policing and two-tier justice trying to be enacted by Labour councillors in cahoots with the local police. I stand completely against what they are doing and for the rights of Christians to be able to freely share the Christian message, as we've always been allowed to do. So what's happening here is we have activists all over the place in all different spheres trying to restrict and criminalize things which have always been allowed, which have always been fine in our understanding of how society should be allowed to function, completely inverting society. So they're saying, well, what's happened before? We've had 2,000 years of Christianity and it's been fine. You don't have to be a Christian, but everyone's allowed to share the Christian message. And if you don't like it, you can just walk on. They're trying to arrest people and criminalize that while inverting things and saying things which haven't been part of society before are now to be celebrated, are now to be affirmed. So they're cutting down what's happened before and trying to create a whole new society out of these protected characteristics which are in the Equality Act. You know what I mean? So this is wicked, and it is being enacted by Labour, Tories, Lib Dems, Greens, activists in the police, activists in the judiciary, and activists in the councils and the civil service who have been saturated with common purpose and Fabian society indoctrination and cultural Marxist indoctrination at universities and so on. I will not keep silent about this. And there's only one political party which will speak about this, that will turn things back the right way that they should be, to make this country, again, what it has always been, to restore our nation. And that is my party, the Heritage Party. If you don't want this to be happening, if you don't want your councils to be acting in a brazenly anti-Christian manner and imposing two-tier policing, two-tier justice, two-tier society, please come and join me in the Heritage Party and put yourself forward to stand as a councillor to take control of the councils, and then we can stop this from happening. And also, of course, to take control in Westminster ultimately as well. There are local elections, of course, in England this year in 23 councils, but next year in 2026, there's a lot more. I was just looking at this yesterday, and it's not just 23 councils with elections next year. There are, as far as I can see, reorganizations of councils notwithstanding, 154 councils where there are elections going to happen next year. So there's going to be nearly 5,000 seats next year up for election in local areas in England, as well of course as the Senedd in Wales and Holyrood in Scotland, and we'll be standing candidates in as many places, in as many seats as we possibly can. It's a big job, you know, to get 5,000 candidates. I mean, I would love to have that many people in the Heritage Party standing everywhere with the people to support them as well. So please do come and join us as soon as you can, so that we can fight this and turn this country the right way up again and restore freedom to our nation. Thanks for listening, everyone, and God bless you all.